So are we heading to elections again for the fourth time in 2 years during a pandemic? And if so, how do we expect it to go down? Joining me to discuss, we have political strategist and director of English operations for the Yamina party, Jeremy Saltan, and former Likud Knesset member and president of the Likud party Supreme Court, Michael Kleiner. Now, Michael, I'm going to start with you. The big question first, are we heading for elections?
Maybe. I hope not. It will be very damages for the Israeli economy and not having a budget, being in the middle of a crisis which is very sensitive. You know, at January, we have to start a new budget year. Banks will start to ask for mortgages payment that were delayed. People will feel that the time they get money without work, compensation. They know it's not unlimited resources. And we need a government to deal, and the leaders of the country, to deal with running the crisis and not with running an election. It is really a disaster, unexplainable, but most members of Knesset don't want it. The leaders of the parties don't want the election. Most of the members of Knesset don't want it. But sometimes, you know, events are stronger than the wishes of the people who caused those events.
All right, well, Jeremy, you know, same question, I guess, to you. Michael is saying right now that most leaders don't actually want that, or members of Knesset, rather, at least don't want another election. Would you agree? Where does Naftali Bennett sit on this?
I think a majority of the Knesset members do want to see an election. If they didn't, we wouldn't be seeing a vote in which it appears the majority of the Knesset members are going to vote to lose their jobs, right?
How many members of Likud or Blue and White really want an election, or the religious party?
Know, if we're looking at the polls, both Likud and Blue and White are looking to lose about 25%, if not more, of the seats that they have right now. Yet what they're doing is...
Yamina has only 5 members of Knesset. Maybe they want election.
Well, you know, we're not the ones who decided to table the vote for tomorrow. That was decided by, of course, Yair Lapid. We already know that there are members within the coalition, such as the Labor Party, who've already said that they are going to vote for it. It seems very clear, based on the behavior yesterday as well as today, that Blue and White is going to go ahead and support it. And again, if I'm looking at the fact that we don't have a state budget, that just proves that Netanyahu has never really been interested in producing a state budget, and that he's always wanted elections. Now, I understand it's his position, it's the Likud position, to go ahead and throw the blame of this election on Blue and White, and they're able to go ahead and say, listen, we would have done the rotation agreement, we would have made Gantz prime minister, but, oh, they're the ones that voted to disperse the Knesset, and Netanyahu can go on his white horse and say, I voted against it. But let's be honest, if there was a budget being presented, then we would not be in the position that we are right now. In fact, I remember, Michael, when the two of us were sitting together on a different station during the inauguration of this government, I foresaw this particular situation, which I noticed within the coalition agreement, the whole that said that in the case of a budget that Netanyahu has an exit clause and that he would be able to go ahead and call an early election. So Netanyahu wants an election in June, which would mean going ahead and crashing it in March. Instead, Gantz is saying that let's go ahead and let's do it earlier. I don't understand why we should go ahead and wait and have an election during Netanyahu's timetable. Go ahead, produce a budget. If you're not going to produce a budget, then let's just go ahead and get on with this instead of delaying the inevitable.
I want to go back to you, Michael, now, because you kind of touched on something earlier. You know, do you believe that an election, obviously, you don't believe that that's what's best for the country right now. Can you describe a little bit more why that is and how we might avoid it?
No, if all the people in the Knesset will realize that actually they are the one who takes the decision, they are the one who will determine whether there will be an election or not, they may find a way how to continue this government. Blue and White doesn't need nothing good is waiting for them. They do not need the election. and I believe they can come to a kind of understanding how to pass a budget, because if there's one additional thing to elections the country doesn't need, it doesn't need a situation that the economy is operating without a budget. We need a budget, we need legislation, we need solutions for the people who are unemployed, we need solutions for training people for new jobs after they finish their unemployment time. Not all of them will be able to return to their previous jobs. And all this has to be done by a government that is working 24 hours a day. Netanyahu has an agreement with Blue and White. I believe he should fulfill the agreement, not find a way out. There's nothing that he knows now about the partners he didn't know when he signed the agreement. So if there is a rotation, there will be a rotation. The majority of the government will run it anyway. And I hope that people will come to their senses, and members of Knesset and ministers and Likud will also express their views. As I said before, a big majority of the members of the Knesset don't want the election. If there would have been held a secret ballot in the Knesset, whether they want election or not, I guess maybe between 90 and 100 people in a secret ballot would have voted against election.
Well, I'd love to see that vote as opposed to the public vote, to see if there really is any sort of separation.
What do you think? What do you think? There will be a difference?
I think that it would be very, very, very fascinating to see if there is a difference. In fact, Michael Kleiner, Jeremy Saltan, thank you so much for being with us.
Of course.
Thank you. Bye-bye.